at the Israeli Consulate in Chengdu, a man named Jiang Wei from China was waiting for a very special video call. On the other end was a young Israeli woman who, as it turned out, had been searching for him for 13 years. The video connected quickly. The Israeli woman's eyes were filled with tears as she kept thanking Jiang Wei over and over again. Who was this woman in the video? And what kind of story had connected them, one that drove her to search for him for over a decade? On May 12, 2008, a devastating 8.0 magnitude earthquake struck Sichuan province in China. It claimed the lives of 100,000 people, left countless others homeless, and affected a total of 46 million people. At the time of the earthquake, 22-year-old Jiang Wei was studying in Chengdu. Deeply worried about his family in Jiangjian, he ignored the advice of his teachers and friends and set out on the journey home. He took a bus, then a motorcycle, and eventually walked a long distance on foot before finally reaching his home in Jiangjian. Thankfully, although the family home had collapsed, everyone had made it out safely. After briefly comforting his family, Jiang Wei joined the local villagers in rescue efforts. On the morning of May 14, around 7 a.m., Jiang Wei headed toward Hongkou Township to see if anyone there needed help. In the distance, he spotted two figures. As he got closer, he saw that they were two foreign girls in bad shape. One of them had an injured finger but could still stand, her friend was in much worse condition, her jaw was seriously injured, and a man's t-shirt had been tied around her head as a makeshift bandage to keep her jaw in place. She was slumped on the ground, lips pale, and looked exhausted and dazed. Jiang Wei's English wasn't great, so they relied on gestures and guesses to communicate. He learned that the two girls were Israeli students. The one with the injured finger was named Anat, and the one with the jaw injury was Maya. They had been traveling in Jiangjian and were eating at a local guest house when the quake hit. Unable to escape in time, they were buried in rubble but eventually rescued by local villagers. Due to limited resources, only simple first aid had been provided. The girls wanted to leave the mountains, but they had no idea which way to go. Maya, who had initially been able to walk, was now too weak from the pain and lack of food. She sat on the ground, lost and hopeless. Jiang Wei looked at the two of them, then at the blocked road, and made a firm decision, "I'll get you out of here." Hearing about his plan, the local villagers pitched in with shoes, flashlights, and bottled water. The roads were blocked, so the only way out was to hike over two mountains to reach the nearest medical rescue point. It had just rained, and the muddy trail was dangerously slippery. Jiang Wei picked up a stick and handed it to Anat as a walking aid. He supported her on one side and placed Maya's arm over his shoulder, half dragging, half carrying the two girls as they moved forward. They had to stop every few steps, nearly slipping multiple times. At about 5 feet 7 inches and fairly slim, Jiang Wei struggled to support both of them. Soon, Maya was no longer able to walk at all, and he had to carry her on his back. Though his steps were unsteady, he never wavered. To prevent Maya from becoming dehydrated, Jiang Wei used the cap of a water bottle to feed her small sips along the way. 6 hours later, they reached Jiang Wei's home halfway up the mountain. Seeing the injured girls, his uncle immediately joined in, helping to carry Maya. He and Jiang Wei took turns carrying her further down the mountain. Soon after, they ran into two dusty, disheveled foreign boys. Upon seeing Jiang Wei's group, the boys were overjoyed. They were also Israeli students. Though they didn't know Maya or Anat personally, they had heard that fellow countrymen were trapped and came into the mountains to look for them. Now a group of 6, they supported one another as they made their way downhill. Taking turns carrying Maya, they finally reached a road before nightfall and were able to contact the nearest medical center. Before getting into the ambulance, Maya, still too weak and unable to speak due to her jaw injury, wanted to thank Jiang Wei in person for staying with her for 12 hours. But all she could manage was a difficult, heartfelt hug. Then she took off a Buddhist bracelet she'd been wearing for a long time and handed it to her rescuer. After watching the ambulance drive away, Jiang Wei and his uncle returned to the rescue efforts. Maya, meanwhile, was taken to Huaxi Hospital, where she received proper treatment and eventually returned to Israel on May 18. After the Wenchuan earthquake, the entire world turned its eyes to China, closely following the progress of the rescue efforts. The people of Israel, while concerned about the situation in Sichuan, were especially worried about the two missing Israeli girls. When the girls safely returned home, they quickly became the focus of media attention. In one televised interview, Maya emotionally recounted how a young Chinese man named Jiang Wei stayed by her side for 12 hours during the terrifying earthquake in a faraway land. The broadcast sparked widespread coverage across Israeli media. Despite the chaos and hardship, a Chinese young man had selflessly extended a helping hand to foreign strangers. In an interview at the time, Israel's ambassador to China said, "In the next phase of rescue and reconstruction in the earthquake zone, Israel will provide even more support to China to express our deep gratitude." After the rescue efforts concluded, Jiang Wei returned to school to continue his studies. That episode in the mountains gradually faded into memory. What he didn't know, however, was that thousands of miles away in Israel, Maya had never forgotten. Their farewell had been rushed, and she hadn't gotten the chance to exchange contact info. But she never stopped thinking about the person who had saved her life. "I still owe him a thank you," she said. Having studied traditional Chinese medicine during her time in China, Maya opened an acupuncture clinic after returning to Israel. She would tell every customer who walked through her doors about the unforgettable experience she had in the mountains, hoping someone might help her find Jiang Wei. She even called the Chinese embassy in Israel and contacted every person she knew, asking them to help with the search. But all she ever got were apologies. "I'm sorry, but we just can't find him." Still, Maya never gave up. Finally, in 2018, during a social gathering, a Chinese student from Chengdu named Chen Tao heard Maya's story and was deeply moved. He gave her his word that he'd help. Chen Tao reached out to his contacts back home and asked friends, classmates, and family in Chengdu to search far and wide. Eventually, he found Jiang Wei, who was from Hongkou Township in Sichuan Province. Maya and Jiang Wei reunited via a short video call using Chen Tao's phone. It had been a decade, and both were thrilled to see each other again. But in the excitement, they once again forgot to exchange contact info. Since Maya had used Chen Tao's WeChat to connect, once he returned to China and changed his phone, she lost touch with Jiang Wei again. Then in April 2021, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Israel's Consulate General in Chengdu donated 20 computers to Shumo Middle School to show appreciation for Wenchuan's support during the outbreak. The news was reported in Israel, and Maya, always on the lookout for stories related to China, saw the article. She immediately wrote a long, heartfelt email to the consul, recounting the story from 13 years ago. At the end of the message, Maya sincerely asked the consulate for help in finding Jiang Wei so she could finally make peace with this unfinished chapter. Consul Peleg Louis read the email and was touched. "This kind of story moves everyone who hears it," he said. The Consulate General in Chengdu decided right away to help make their reunion happen. On May 11th, dressed in a navy blue shirt, Jiang Wei walked into the Israeli consulate in Chengdu at their invitation. Through a large screen, he was once again face-to-face with Maya, who was all the way in Israel. Her face turned red with emotion as they spoke, through a translator, about their lives since that fateful day. Mid-conversation, Maya paused, looked Jiang Wei in the eyes, and said a single word in Chinese, "Thank you." She went on to express her endless gratitude to Jiang Wei for carrying her over 2 mountains, to the many Chinese people who helped her, and to the Israeli consulate in Chengdu for making this reunion possible. As their conversation came to an end, Maya warmly invited Jiang Wei to visit Israel so she and her family could thank him in person. "But if it's inconvenient," she added, "I'll fly to China myself." Jiang Wei smiled and replied cheerfully, "Jiangjian has beautiful mountains, great water, and fresh air. It's a livable city and an ecological paradise. We welcome your whole family to come visit." After the video call, Consul Peleg Louis held a small award ceremony to honor Jiang Wei's heroic actions. He presented a golden medal engraved with proverbs in both Hebrew and Chinese. In Israel, we say, "He who saves a life, saves an entire world." And in China, there's a similar saying, "Saving a life is more meritorious than building a 7-story pagoda." Today, I dedicate both of these to Mr. Jiang Wei. In truth, both Jiang Wei, the young man who saved a life expecting nothing in return, and Maya, the woman who never forgot a single act of kindness, are deeply moving. Their story is a powerful reminder of the beauty of humanity,